Welcome to another Red Hunt video. Story 1. Am I the antagonist for mowing my lawn at 8 AM on a Saturday? Today, I had a busy schedule ahead of me, including watching football. To ensure a relaxing day, I decided to complete my yard work early. I woke up earlier than usual and wanted to avoid being that person mowing their lawn at 7 AM. So I waited until 8 AM to retrieve my mower from the garage. After mowing my backyard, I was about to open the gate to move onto the front yard when my neighbor, whom we'll call Gary, got into his truck to leave. I waved at him, he waved back, and I resumed mowing. Once I finished one side of the front yard, I prepared to close the gate to prevent my chickens from escaping. However, Gary's wife, whom we'll refer to as Teresa, came outside and said, "You know, I work nights at the hospital, and you woke me up really badly this morning." I was taken aback, not only by her poor choice of words, but also because it was already around 8:45 AM, and I didn't anticipate her confronting me, especially after her husband had been friendly and waved at me earlier, while I was still mowing. I simply responded, "Sorry," restarted the mower, and continued with my task. Part of me wanted to respond with something like, "Sorry you have a demanding night job," or I could have started at 7 AM. But I chose not to escalate the situation and focused on my work. However, throughout the day, it has been bothering me, and I regret not saying something in return, such as suggesting she wear earplugs like I used to when I worked nights. Honestly, I feel somewhat cowardly for not standing up for myself. I had no clue that Teresa worked at a hospital or that she worked nights. There have been instances when they have been on their screened-in porch playing loud music and partying until 3 AM. And I never complained. I could have mowed the lawn later in the afternoon or even tomorrow, but I genuinely believe that I chose a perfectly acceptable time. Additionally, even if I had started at 9 AM, 10 AM, or even noon, she would likely still be asleep due to her night shift. Should I just put my plans on hold for the entire day when I have tasks to complete? There is ongoing construction nearby and always morning noise, especially on weekends. Furthermore, my neighbor on the other side works on motorcycles, resulting in frequent revving sounds, and the neighbor across the street was working on his boat in the driveway at the same time. Perhaps I am at fault for not being able to anticipate my neighbor's circumstances without her explicitly informing me that she works night shifts at a hospital. Maybe I should have guessed that she would be sleeping at 8 AM on a Saturday morning. It would have been satisfying to confront her and tell her to mind her own business. But then I would undoubtedly be the one in the wrong. Based on the information provided, it is difficult to confidently determine if you are the asshole, you're the antagonist, as it heavily relies on the dynamics and expectations of your neighborhood. However, it seems that there may have been a lack of communication and understanding from both parties involved. On one hand, you did wait until 8 AM to start your yard work, which is generally considered a reasonable hour. Additionally, you were unaware of your neighbor's work schedule, and there have been instances where noise has occurred in the neighborhood during early hours. It is also worth noting that your neighbor's choice of words when addressing the situation may have contributed to your negative reaction. However, it is also important to consider the impact that noise can have, especially on someone who works night shifts. Although you may have followed the general norm in your neighborhood, it is still considerate to be mindful of noise levels that may disturb others' sleep regardless of their work schedule. In hindsight, it appears that your frustration and desire to retaliate against your neighbor may have clouded your judgment. It would have been better to address the situation calmly and seek a compromise or further clarification. It is generally more productive to engage in open and respectful communication, even in cases where you feel provoked. Overall, it is advisable to approach future situations with a greater level of empathy and understanding, as well as open dialogue to foster a harmonious neighborhood environment. As someone who works shift work, it's my responsibility to ensure that I have a suitable place to sleep during the day, when most people are awake and living their lives. This could involve creating a dark room, using earplugs, and so on. Part of this process includes getting to know my neighbors and informing them about my work schedule, saying something like, "I work night shifts, and I try to sleep from X to Y." If I live in a house in a neighborhood, I could also add, "I have days off on ABC." If it's convenient for you and fits your schedule, I would really appreciate it if you could do any yard work during that time. It's important to communicate this beforehand, rather than getting angry at them for doing something completely acceptable. Not the asshole, mow your lawn. People saying 8 AM is too early must live in a region where mornings are cooler. If you wait until 10 a.m., you'll be outside at the peak temperature of the day. It's currently September and temperatures are still reaching the 90s. Therefore, it's advisable to mow your lawn before it gets too hot. You're not the asshole, not the antagonist. Story 2. Am I the antagonist for telling my brother I blame him and his wife for their daughter's actions? My brother has 2 children. His son Jory is 15 years old, and his daughter Emily is 7 years old. Jory's mother passed away a few weeks after Emily was born. My brother and Jory's mother had been divorced for a while, and Jory primarily lived with her until she passed away. Jory went through a lot in a very short period of time. Jory's maternal family is very involved in his life, which my brother and his wife disapproved of, but allowed because my parents and I told them that it wasn't about them or Emily, but about Jory and his loss of his mother. Their attitude remained unchanged, and it did have an impact on Emily to some extent, in my opinion. She adores Jory and feels jealous when he spends hours or even stays overnight with his maternal family. She's envious that he doesn't keep many photos, except for one of his mom in his room, which is in a special frame. Mostly, she's just a young girl yearning for attention from her older half-brother. She sees him as the greatest person in the world, but sometimes, I feel like she listens too much to what her parents think. 2 months ago, there was an incident at my brother's house. Jory didn't want to spend time with Emily and was reading a letter from his mom. Emily pushed him, and he told her to leave his room. She became angry and, from what I can gather, my brother and his wife didn't try to calm her down. When Jory left the room, Emily went in and broke the frame and tore up the photo of Jory's mom. Jory walked in while she was still tearing the photo. Jory yelled at Emily, and she cried, expressing her anger and desire for him to spend time with her instead of choosing the letter. My brother entered the room, told Jory to stop yelling at his sister, and comforted Emily. Both my brother and his wife downplayed the incident, considering it not to be a significant issue. However, Jory disagreed, leading to an argument. Later, Emily went back to Jory's room, apologized, but he ignored her. She cried and pleaded for him not to love his mom more than her. He responded by saying that he didn't love her and would always love his mom more. He also stated that he would never forgive her for what she did, that he didn't want her as his sister, and demanded that she leave his room and not speak to him again. Tensions escalated between my brother and Jory, resulting in Jory leaving to stay with his maternal grandparents. My brother tried to stop him, but his wife stated that she didn't want Jory around Emily if he was going to be so hateful. Jory is still with his grandparents. My brother expected Jory to come to his senses and calm down. I expressed my opinion that Jory shouldn't be expected to see it as a minor issue. My brother dismissed my viewpoint, insisting that I couldn't possibly blame a 7-year-old for her behavior. I clarified that I held him and his wife accountable as parents for mishandling the situation and likely contributing to Emily's jealousy due to their attitude about Jory's interactions with his maternal family. I also criticized them for acting as if Jory had no right to be angry. My brother believes that I am the one who is wrong and being disrespectful towards him and his wife. Am I the asshole? Based on the information provided, I would say that not the antagonist, not the a-hole. You recognize the impact of Jory's mother's death on him and supported his relationship with his maternal family. You also acknowledge the importance of prioritizing Jory's needs and emotions during this difficult time. You accurately pointed out the negative influence that your brother and his wife's disapproval of Jory's relationship with his maternal family had on Emily, leading to her jealousy and potential acting out. In the incident involving Emily breaking the frame and tearing up the photo of Jory's mom, it seems like your brother and his wife failed to handle the situation appropriately. While Emily's actions were wrong, they should have taken the opportunity to teach her about empathy, understanding, and finding healthy ways to express her feelings. Instead, they chose to console Emily and downplay the severity of the situation, which only further fueled Jory's anger. You held your brother and his wife accountable for their role in the situation and the way they handled it. You were justified in pointing out that they were at fault for allowing Emily's jealousy to escalate, and for not recognizing that Jory had valid reasons to be upset. It seems like your brother is deflecting blame and not owning up to their mistakes. Overall, it appears that you had Jory's best interests at heart, and were advocating for him as his uncle. Not the asshole. Destroying other people's personal belongings is unacceptable, and it is a lesson that Emily should have learned immediately. It is clear that Emily is getting away with her misconduct because she is the biological child. Jory needs to stay with his maternal grandparents, where he and his belongings are respected. Living with your brother, who is his father, will not improve until your brother's attitude changes. And it does not sound like it will. It sounds like you've been very supportive of Jory. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I feel really angry for Jory. His stepmother has zero empathy, and both his parents are enabling some bloody awful behavior from Emily. You told them straight and that was the right thing to do.